Hey, my creative friends. My name is Shannon from shannonstudio.com. And we are on day 349 of the year of talking about a creative life and creative life tips and anything that will help us be more creative, think more creative. Hey, Joan. And to anything that will just kind of move that needle for us to see yourself, see myself be more creative. So we talk about those kinds of things. And also, I am launching a Creative Heartbeats Club that you can join at the end of the month. And so I'm talking about, in these few weeks, I'm talking about how even more so why I'm doing this and why it might be beneficial for you to join. Kind of makes sense. And so I talk about a topic that is connected to joining Creative Heartbeats Club. And hey, Trisha. So I think boyfriend, I hear you upstairs. Oh, there you are. Hey, boyfriend. Okay, so let's see. Okay, I have on my little tagline thing that I'm doing, I have my little cube that tells me my thing. So my little tagline for it kind of, and I learned this I'm practicing what StoryBrand, the book StoryBrand, teaches about business. It talks about, stating what is the problem, what is the suffering somebody does, and then what is the answer. So I kind of tailor this. I'm just letting you know kind of the secrets of what I'm doing to build this. So it's so my little tagline is: the no fun, guilt-ridden, stressed out life is real. Creative Heartbeats Club helps unlock creative life skills and habits with prompts and projects to let your hidden happy self shine. So I have this feeling, an idea that being creative is going to help women. I just have felt that. I felt that anecdotally and also from my personal experience. And so that's kind of the catalyst for that women, particularly moms, have this stressed out life. We have a lot of demands, and a lot of women and moms feel a lot of guilt, particularly if they take time for themselves. And that they kind of feel like they're not any fun anymore. They've kind of lost themselves. I've done a lot of studying about how moms feel. And so I've always felt creativity is going to really help moms. It's helped me so much so, and it really came to the forefront of my understanding when Layla passed away. It just came to me in a different way how important it was to be creative. So that's kind of the way I feel, and that's why I've developed this, and so I want to take women on that journey where they feel creative, where they feel the benefits that come from being creative. But then yesterday I was reading something, and it talked about, and it kind of gave me some context for why I feel like women need this so much. It is from an article in the Scientific American from Scott Barry Kaufman. And of course, I don't have the title of the article with me. Wait a minute. I think I might have the title. No, I don't. Okay. I'll put it in the comments. I'll put a quote probably, and I'll list what the article is. But he talks about well-being and well-being for people, and he lists 5 things that they have done research over about 5 personality traits that really predict if you're going to have well-being. So these 5 things they've tested, that he feels very strongly from the research that these are great things to have in your personality. And he also has stated in that article and wants people to know that there's just not one way to have well-being. There's different paths to get there. So the 5 personality traits. So I'm going to talk about those first. Personality trait 1 is enthusiasm. Friendly, sociable, emotionally expressive, and you tend to have fun. So that's the first personality trait that's predictive of you being happy. And the next one is low withdrawal, which I didn't quite understand this until I read it, what he meant. Low withdrawal means not easily discouraged, nor overwhelmed. You don't tend to ruminate, which I've done a couple videos on rumination, and you're not highly self-conscious. Then there's industrious, self-disciplined, achievement-oriented, efficient, purposeful, confident. That tends to help with well-being if you have those personality traits. Compassionate. So you feel for other people, you feel worry, you feel for their emotions, you feel for their well-being, and you demonstrate that in your personality trait. The last one is intellectual curiosity. So you're open to new ideas. You enjoy thinking deeply and complexly, and you tend to reflect on your personal experiences. So those are the strongest personality traits that they have studied that will lead you to well-being. And kind of just knowing what they are helps us to lean into them a little bit. So sometimes if you're feeling like, oh, I don't have time to go out and do this with the family, or I don't have time, then you can say, oh no, I have time, because enthusiasm means having a lot of fun and being social and friendly and expressive. So yeah, my well-being depends on me and taking advantage of enthusiasm sometimes. Hey, Nick. So knowing what these are, they will help us to move forward doing bits and pieces of these in order to be feel whole. So I thought those were great to know that. But what I really thought about next was that there were three traits that were just not predictive of well-being. No matter, they did not predict that you had well-being, no matter what measure of well-being they looked at. So three traits were just low on the scale. When you do these, you're not going to necessarily have well-being. Okay, and I find these totally interesting when you think of the context of moms in particular and women in particular. So the three traits are: one, politeness. Politeness, if you score high on that, like being fair and considerate, respect others' needs and wants, cooperate easily, that is going to be an indicator that it's not predictive of you being well, having a good well-being. And being polite all the time doesn't relate to well-being. It's not correlated in any form of well-being. And so I'm reading this and I'm going, oh my goodness, what do moms do? Don't they, take everybody's feelings into concern and try to meet the needs and wants of everybody, and they want everybody to cooperate, and they're willing to do things to make peace in the house, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's what moms do. Okay, so caveat here, I'm not saying if you do this, you're just going to be not well. What I'm saying is that there's a pattern here, and when I see women, either my friends or other women who don't feel whole, who don't feel like they're getting their own needs met, when they feel like they've lost themselves, then I look at their lives, I'm going, oh, this is them. And so I think it's important to realize these things. Okay, so the second one is orderliness. What do moms do? We make sure the house is clean. We make sure everything's put in its place and tidy. So if you score high in orderliness, or have a preference for tidiness, routine, or tend to be a perfectionist, there's no correlation with any of our measures of well-being. That's what he says. So strike two. first you're trying to be polite, get everybody to cooperate, be fair, all this stuff. And then now cleaning up. Like I said, I'm not saying if you clean the house, you're not well. That's not what I'm saying. Because if you have those other 5 traits, and that's why I led with those, because if you have an abundance of those other traits, then cleaning the house isn't robbing you because you have learned to have the other personality traits. But if you don't have that enthusiasm, if you don't have the enthusiasm, or if you remunerate all the time and get easily discouraged or overwhelmed, if you're not industrious and achievement oriented, if you don't have compassion for others, if you don't have intellectual curiosity where you're thinking deeply and broadly and complexly, and you don't reflect on your experiences, and then you have this tendency for politeness and orderliness, that's the recipe that starts to go, something needs to change. So orderliness. Then the last one of the 3, politeness, orderliness, is volatility. And when they mean volatility, they are saying that if you score high, you're susceptible to mood instability and irritability and have difficulties with impulse control. So probably if you get angry and just lash out, and not that I would know any of that from personal experience, but if you do that, that is predictive of not having well-being. And the only thing they did say about that was that if you tend to be really moody, an impulsive person, as long as that doesn't make you anxious or fearful, then you are not lowering your probabilities of having healthy well-being, higher well-being. So it's just saying, it's that with this caveat that, if this volatility makes you anxious, and then you are lowering it. But if you're not, if it doesn't make you anxious and fearful, so I guess it's volatility tied with. So the mood instability, the mood irritability, the difficulties with impulse control, coupled with anxiousness and fearfulness. And that happens for moms too. So I'm going strike 3. So when I read that yesterday, I'm going politeness, orderliness, and volatility with the explanations that they give. No wonder women are having a hard time with well-being. No wonder mothers in particularly struggle with well-being. And not that it just has to be women. So Nick and boyfriend, it's not just women, but I really have seen, because I'm intimate with women and I'm intimate with their lives and with motherhood. And so I'm looking at it and I'm going, wow. So the things that I felt anecdotally and that I from experience, I'm going, here is some research that kind of talks about that and kind of proves my point, and yay, because it's just sometimes you feel that in your gut. You feel like something is just, it just feels right. But then you just, maybe nobody believes you or whatever. So for me, this was really great to read this, to go, okay, I really think I'm on the right track. Kind of think we're on the right track to pursue creativity, because as I'm doing this, as I'm designing the prompts, and as I'm looking at the things that I'm doing, I am correlating some of the data to some of the things. So reflects on their experiences from the intellectual curiosity one. Like I'm doing a prompt for that, where just a simple 5-minute prompt where you take some of your, if you have a social media account, where you take some of your photos that you've put up and just write on your calendar, write in a journal, that experience and why you liked it. Simple, but it's kind of laced with that research. And so I try to, the things I've learned with studying it, I try to make those prompts fun and creative, and some of the prompts very short, so that we can put into practice some of the data that will lead to us being happy and creative and having a great well-being. So one of the things he said was that if you are not having some of the 5 and maybe do have some of the 3, that he says, relax. Personality can be changed. And right there, that should give us a breather that we can do something about it. We're not trapped in the circumstance that we see ourselves in now. And that's hope right there. That's hope. That we don't have to be stuck in the same things that we've done over and over and over. We can move out of that. He says a large number of scientific studies are piling up now showing that interventions exist to change personality, and that a change in personality has a direct effect on changes in happiness. What's more, a makeover in happiness can also affect our personality. So, and he says, if anything, I think these findings are optimistic. So they are optimistic. The fact that if we know these, we can make different choices. And here's my pitch for Creative Heartbeats Club, is that we're going to do some things that directly fit some of these categories in order to just be living creatively, but there's benefits to them. I always try to they've done the research. I don't have to say anything. They've done the research to talk about how creativity helps us and builds our well-being and builds our happiness. So what I'm trying to do is do some of the things that are an easy entry point for people to be creative. And I want to kind of reiterate that this isn't necessarily a drawing class. I mean, I draw fairly well. I paint fairly well. So it could be, you could think, well, she does that really well, and I can't do that, so I'm not going to be a part of it. I do my art and stuff on my other account. This account, Creative Heartbeats Club, is strictly to build a consistent practice of creativity. That's what this is. And yes, we will do some drawing, and yes, we'll do some painting, and we'll do, some fun things, but I've geared it all to an amateur level. To be truthful, we're not professionals in this group. We're not seeking being professionals in this group. And so I want to make sure that comes across too in the whole process of you deciding whether you join or not. So I thought that was terrific. I thought that was helpful. It makes me just feel like, phew, I'm not crazy. I do understand. And my experiences and my gut telling me so, really felt good. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. Maybe I wanted to read more into it, but you can tell me what you think, if you agree or not, and if you have anything to add to how that plays out. I would love to hear, because it just helps. I'm one of the intellectual curious ones, where I like to think deeply about things and broadly, and it just excites me to think things and have ideas, and I don't have a problem with people disagreeing with me intellectually like that. I think it's great. So yeah, that's the tip tonight, that women need, mothers need to have a creative life. That's going to help with the 5 things that predict well-being, and it's going to help us recognize the 3 things that do not help well-being. So remember you have a creative heartbeat, so listen for it, and I will be back tomorrow. Bye.